This is how I used a tool called Make to create an AI agent based on a fictional character who then blogs automatically every 1,000 minutes. I know that sounds like a lot. So Make is at make.com. They used to be called Integramat, and now they are Make. Within here, you can go to your AI agents. So I'm going to go here. I have an agent that I've named Raymond, and I gave Make the full text of my script. Let me see if I can show it here because my video is blocking it. Yeah. So I uploaded the entire script here to use as context for who Raymond is as a character. So it can draw on information in this 100-page manuscript at any point that it wants to. So then I give Raymond a little biographical information here about who he is. He's a low-level technician in a failing synthetic reality project. You'll have to read the play for that to make any sense whatsoever. But I can just run a test to see, like, say, hi, Raymond. And it'll probably generate some weird stuff. Greetings, intruder. So it kind of knows his personality. He's sort of a nerd, maybe a Star Trek kind of guy. He always talks about himself in the third person. So that's not a glitch in the AI. That's how I've specifically programmed Raymond, because Raymond in the play talks about himself in the third person. It makes a reference here to Hector, another character in the play who happens to be an iguana. Anyway, you get the idea. Over here is the actual recipe, or the scenario as they're called in Make. And my first draft of this had many, many more steps, and then I figured out a way to simplify it, and I probably could simplify it even further. So this first module connects to OpenAI via their API. You do need to have a separate API account with OpenAI. It won't just work with your regular or free ChatGPT account. It has to be through OpenAI. And then here I'm giving it more context. So it says who Raymond is, and then it's gives some instruction about the output. That was something kind of cool and new to me. It's almost like coding on the fly with verbal instructions, like, hey, I just want you to return JSON. Here's where it's telling Raymond, or more specifically, it's telling OpenAI just to generate a title and summary at this stage of the blog post. I have this separated, to have title and summary in one place and to have the actual blog content in another, because initially I was connecting to two different GPTs. I was using the less resource intensive one for the title and summary, and the more resource intensive one for the actual body. And in the end, it was generating just kind of shitty titles and summaries when I used the cheaper GPT. And so now I have kind of like two separate modules to aggregate title, summary, and actual post, when I could simplify it to be one if I really wanted to. So basically, this first step is a call to the API. It generates a title and summary of a fictional blog post in the voice of Raymond. This is a module that just says, hey, look for the JSON that is outputted. And when I say output, so this is one that ran recently, and this is the output in JSON. So the title is Subsonic Entanglement and Vestigial Memory Caches, a Dissonant Compilation. So that is very Raymond. And then it detects the JSON. Then it's going to use this information to generate the full post. So it's like inspired by the title and summary generated over here. It's now going to also generate the post. I'll probably go back and make this all one API call, but this is just how it's set up for now, and it seems to work fine. So the instructions, again, in like plain English: write a devlog entry, maximum 250 words in Raymond's voice. Use the following as thematic input. So it takes the title and summary from the previous module to generate the actual post content. So then you can look at the output there. Yeah, here's the output, and there's the content, and it has like breaks there just to I programmed it to break up the content, because originally it was just giving like a big blob of text and I wanted it to be more readable. So then it's going to read that JSON in this module. So then it's creating the file name here, and I just made it really simple, raise log dash date. And so it takes the date all the way up to the minute to create a file name. And then this is how it displays the date and of other variables for the summary and the actual HTML. So you can kind of see how the actual post is structured here. So it's just creating an HTML file that has the title from over here as the H3, has the summary in a paragraph, and puts the content in another paragraph. It's very simple, but you could see if you could have as many variables as you want. You could break it up into list items. You could do all kinds of cool stuff. It creates an entry in a data store here in Make. This is helpful for future references, like if you needed to rebuild your site based on a database, it allows you to store the information in the database. And then over here, actually, let me just show what that looks like so that makes any sense. So yeah, these are the different fields that are stored in the database, and an output. Yeah, it just has a key for that database. It doesn't really tell you anything. This final module, HTTP, is kind of a catch-all generic module in Make that allows you to make API calls to pretty much anything, or HTTP requests, I suppose I should say. So in this case, I'm using GitHub's API to make this call, and probably sharing some information here that I shouldn't. Anyway, it's posting to GitHub here, and then here's what it looks like when it runs. So I'm just going to click, I have to get over here, get out of my video window for a sec. So I'm going to run once, and you'll see it think. So it's spinning, generating the title, parsing the title. Takes a few seconds to generate the post because this is where it's connecting to ChatGPT. And then boom, it made a new post on the website. So that post is, let's just see what the title is. The new one is subharmonic reverberation and sector lattice, whatever that is. So then I can go over here to the blog, and I can hopefully refresh. Sometimes it's cached, and it takes a second. Yep, and then I have a new post. This is now fully automated. I don't even have to push a button like I did at first. It looks like Make just loosened the reins on using AI. Previously, if you had an AI agent, you had to manually trigger all of your scenarios, and now apparently you can schedule your scenarios just as you would any other. It is subject to limits on tokens within OpenAPI, so you get a finite number of tokens based on the paid account that you have there. It's also limited by the operations that Make runs. And so each one of these little modules basically counts as an operation. And if you're like crawling, I don't know, if you're scraping a website for hundreds of job postings, which is another thing that I built, I learned that each posting counts as an operation. And so that started to count against my limit in Make. But other than that, there's really not many limits or anything stopping me from setting these agents loose in the wild. Here's what the actual entry looks like. So it created a new post with this title. It put the summary here, and then it kind of breaks up the text nicely. These are bizarre, by the way. You can make them less bizarre. You could make one in a more human voice, but like this play that I wrote is set in the future and it's really weird. And so this is very much specific to Raymond in the play that I wrote. It is programmed to be this strange. But like I said, like you can make as many fictional characters as you want and train AI on the voice of these characters that you imagine in your head in your work of fiction. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here to do really interesting artistic things, not just really poorly rendered images, but like, you are the creator, but you are then using technology to build out the universe that you imagined. And I just think that's cool.